The only part that I have left to do is underneath the bus heater that I have been stalling on because cutting up parts of the bus and especially parts with coolant in it that I haven't tried to handle before, I haven't touched before, is a little intimidating. But now I'm at a point where I kind of have to. I can't stall anymore, I have to do this. So today I'm going to cut the hoses and drain the coolant and try to pull this heater out. Hopefully I'll be able to loop one of the hoses back on itself and reattach it without losing too much coolant. So let's get started on that. This is the bus heater that I have been putting off, and I've got all of my cleanup trash kind of stacked around it on the plywood. So like the rubber flooring is still underneath it and the plywood is still underneath it. When I first started, I took all the screws out of it, and all of those screws are like kind of in a pile with all my other screws from early deconstruction. And then underneath, let's see if I can get down here. Underneath, oh, that's hot. Underneath, got, can't see so well. Underneath, got the wires, and you can see the hose coming up through it. So, I gotta go underneath the bus. Cut all that, so that's gonna be fun. These are the fluid cutoff valves for the coolant. So the first step is to turn these off so I don't lose any more coolant than I have to. And I double check those just to make sure. Then it was time to drain the fluid from the hoses close to the heater. Next, I loosened the hose clamps. These held the coolant hoses to the copper fittings of the heater under the bus. They were pretty tight and it took a while to get those started, but I got them off eventually. Pulling the heater up out of the floor was a fairly simple task. To finish separating the heater from the bus, I carefully cut the electrical wire. Because my bus isn't sitting perfectly flat, I had to cut and drain the lines again where I wanted to splice them. So right now, I'm soaking the rubber hose in as hot a water as I could get out here to loosen up the ends of it to go over my barbed coupler. And at this point, I've got the barbed coupler all the way on one side, and I'm trying to work it on the other, which is kind of a challenge underneath the bus. I don't have very much room. It's lucky that I'm fairly slender, but super hot water. You can see I've got one on and one is almost on. Upper body strength is definitely helpful here if you have it. I don't have that much, so it's kind of a process of just wrestling it on, sort of walking it on, twisting it on, sort of thing. Hopefully I'll be wrapping this up in just a minute. So here we have the coupling completely installed. You can see I didn't get this piece of pipe quite perfectly cut straight, but I've got it up to the lip, got this side up to the lip. I really don't think that these hose clamps are strictly necessary. Once this hose cools down, this coupling is not going anywhere, but it made me feel better to put them on. And I wasn't super hot about putting a 90-degree bend in my coolant line, but I'm dealing with very little space here, and this has all got to fit right here and putting one in felt better than putting in two. From what I looked up, I can really only expect, I don't know, 30 pounds or so of pressurization in this line under normal usage. So one 90-degree bend should be okay. So I'm going to zip tie this up here. I'm going to cut and cup this electric line here. This is going to the heater to operate it. And then I will open these valves, tie them back open, and start it up. Make sure that all of this went well. So it was basically cut off the valves that run from the radiator to the heater, cut and drain the lines at the heater, pull the heater up through the floor, carefully cut the electric, and then splice the coolant line. Now all that's left is to start it up, make sure I did it right, but there's not really too many ways that I could have messed this up. So all in all, in the list of projects that I have to do with this Skoolie, this is probably not the hardest or the scariest. So if I can do it, you can definitely do it.